It's time, everyone. Autumn is here. Gotta be in my top 4 favorite seasons, let me tell you. You might think I got my jacket on for the fall vibes, colder now. No, it's actually still quite hot in southern Ontario, and I'm sitting under the AC, which is blasting on me, and I am freezing. Anyway, welcome to the new TBR video. This one is going to be special because it will be covering the entire rest of the year. You should know how these work by now. This is not a definitive list, just my plans. Sometimes these change, sometimes there'll be things I'll spontaneously read, but just the general rundown, stuff you can expect to see covered on the channel. But first, here's everything I read since my last update video, which wasn't that long ago because I wanted to do sort of an end of summer one. They were Words of Radiance, The Troop, A Darker Shade of Magic, If It Bleeds, Holly, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Skyward Flight, and A Dance with Dragons. And I have reviews for all of these up on the channel except for 2. The Troop, which I will be saving for October, more on that later. And A Dance with Dragons, I've already made a big video on The Song of Ice and Fire, and me finishing this book was a long time coming since I started it last year. But yeah, it was amazing. I don't really have much else to add to it. Moving away from that, I have some big plans. Big plans. Because this is the channel's first October. And you know me, I'm a big horror guy. But October's not quite here yet, and I do have a couple things to get done before September ends. Namely, in just a couple days, the 6th Percy Jackson book comes out. If you found that statement confusing, I don't think you're alone, but yes, Uncle Rick is putting out a follow-up to the original Percy Jackson series, because, it's only been like 15 years and there have only been like 11 books that take place after the original series. But no, we're going back, Percy Jackson 6. I'm gonna be reading it. I'll be reading it very quickly, because it's actually, I believe, the shortest one in the entire series. I don't really know what to expect from it at all, but I am hoping it's good. So we wanted to wait very long to hear what I think of that one. I've also been reading Legends and Lattes, which I expect to finish up next week. So yes, October will be filled with horror books. I'll be talking about some of my favorites I've read before and reading a bunch more new ones, many of which I'm actually going to be keeping under wraps. But of course, one you can expect me to talk about is The Troop by Nick Cutter. And of course, it's not October without a Stephen King book or two, so my book club right now is going through Bag of Bones. We have other plans for October, but this is what we are starting with. But because I'm insane, a lot of this is not really going to be affecting my normal reading much. And I have no plans of taking a break from all of my longer fantasy series, which brings me to Stormlight. I'm currently going through Arcanum Unbound, because there are some Stormlight adjacent stories in there, and I wanted to get through those. But as soon as I am done, we are getting right into Oathbringer, followed by Dawnshard and Rhythm of War. Still on track to be fully caught up to that series by the end of the year, which gives me more than enough time to be excited for part 5. But you see, the thing about Stormlight is I kind of expected it to, take up all of my reading time for the rest of the year. But I do most of it through audiobooks now. I still read a little bit just to make sure I know how to spell every character's name. But especially as I'm going through a lot of shorter horror books this season, I just really like having those big long books, ones I can just listen to, so I'm always just making steady progress through them. But that leaves some slots in my schedule open for some big fantasy books. What are we gonna do? I would say that continuing with the Wheel of Time is long overdue. So in October, I will be starting The Great Hunt. And I will not be taking a break as long as I did after Eye of the World anymore, as I am going to be fully committing to this series and intend to finish it next year. But I don't plan to binge it all in a row. That's not really my style. So to break it up a little, avoid burnout, I am going to be alternating The Wheel of Time and the rest of the First Law series. The First Law trilogy was the most captivating thing I've read this year. I have yet to stop thinking about it. And despite me knowing I really needed to continue with Wheel of Time, I have to get back to this one. And I feel that this is a good compromise. So it'll be The Great Hunt, Best Served Cold, The Dragon Reborn, The Heroes, and so on and so forth. I don't know how far I'm going to get this year. I'm probably at least going to get through The Dragon Reborn, but this plan will continue into next year until I'm finished with The Wheel of Time. And obviously I'll finish The First Law first, and at that point I will substitute in another series. Now this pattern probably won't stick for the full thing. I'm sure there are going to be some books that I will want to read back to back, but that's the general outline of how that's going to work. As for other series I'm reading, of course there is the Dresden Files. And because I have so much to read this fall already, I'm only going to be committing to the third book, Grave Peril. I'll definitely be reading that soon, though I don't know if I'm going to be getting around to any more until the new year. I don't know for sure, like if there is time I might be able to squeeze another in, but that one's just a conservative estimate. And then there is Defiant, the fourth and final book in the Skyward series. Comes out in November, and I fully intend to quickly get through it and make a big review on it. Might just do a review for the entire series, because I know there are a lot of Sanderson fans who have not read it, and I think it would be cool to introduce some people to it. Also coming out in November is a prequel to Legends and Lattes, and without spoiling my thoughts on this book too much, definitely a day one read. Some of you are probably wondering what the manga situation is like, because I haven't talked about manga in a while. I've just been kind of burnt out on manga, which, makes sense because I spent so many years reading nothing but it, but it's kind of left me in a rut where there are a bunch of manga I still want to read, but I just don't have much motivation for it. That being said, I am finally at the point in Land of the Lustrous where I'm pretty hooked on it. I just really gotta, kick myself in the pants and just read it. Like, just read it, man. But, I'm not gonna rush myself. It'll be done when it's done. And then I have Eden, It's an Endless World to read, and a few others that I've had my eyes on. I don't know if I'm gonna get around to this year or not. But those two are the ones I've committed to, and I'm definitely gonna see them through. It's just not where my main focus is at the moment. But I think it's safe to say there will be another manga-focused video by the end of the year, as well as a video on Kagurabachi, which is excellent. And finally, on the book club side of things, we don't really have much planned out after October except for one book which is locked in, and that is Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. I don't know anything about this. It was another one of my friend's picks. And there will be a few more book club books for the year, but I don't know what they are yet. I've said before that my next pick will be Trials of the Emerald Sea, but I don't think we're going to be getting to that until January. One more thing I wanted to discuss. I was actually reached out to recently by an indie author who was interested in sharing his book with me. Unfortunately, I don't have much time to get around to these books, but I do think the indie scene is very important. A lot of interesting things happening there, a lot of self-published books growing in popularity. So while I do have a platform, I wanted to shout out Nathan Orgill's The Withered Kingdom. Phiron is being torn apart by a magical war. Ancient kings wrote of a time when 4 angels would be sent to end the generations-long conflict, but when one finally arrives, he forgets his divine origin and denies the destiny an entire kingdom demands. Can the friendship of a half-giant help him survive his quest for his own identity? So if that is of any interest to you, link down below. Again, while I can't get around to reading every book, I have no problem giving shoutouts like that to smaller authors. You can also check out my webcomic down below in the description. Chapter 10 is about to come out. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. I am very, very excited for what the rest of the year has in store, so let me know some of the things you guys are planning to read soon, and I will see you all in the next video.